Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Draw It and Know It. I'm cartoonist Dan Letha for the ministry Reasons for Hope, and we have an art lesson edition. This week's edition is a step-by-step how to draw an armadillo. But before we start drawing, I have a question for you. What bad thing about armadillos do you read about in the Bible? Now, I'm not saying that armadillos are mentioned in the Bible, but there's a certain quality that armadillos have that you read about in the Bible. So if you don't know what the answer is, stay tuned. Or if you do, stay tuned anyway. Let's get drawing. So let's start out with our pencil sketch. And we're going to draw some lines to help us know where to draw the ink lines later on. So this first shape is kind of a big bean shape. It's got a curve at the top, and then the bottom part is kind of curved up a little bit too. So there's a little curve there. So let's draw the head. We're going to start out by drawing a circle, and there's a little circle on the side, and then right in the middle of that circle, let's draw a line. And that line is for where the nose is going to be. So we'll draw the end of that nose right there. And then right from the top of the end to the top of that circle for the head, we're going to draw that line for the nose there, and then we're going to do the same for the bottom and connect it right there. So there we've got the basic shape for the armadillo head. Two lines are going to help us know where the ears go. So there's one, there's two, and let's draw like a teardrop shape now for those ears, now that we've established the direction that the ears are going to go with those lines. So one down, okay, that's one teardrop. We're not going to finish the second teardrop since it's behind. We're going to draw a curved line there, and then draw this line right about there. And there we've got the armadillo guidelines for the ears. The eye goes right there. And then, now this is a 9-banded armadillo. We're going to draw 10 little notches to help us know where the 9 bands go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, draw them about that far apart, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then 10. All right, and then we're going to draw the guidelines all the way down now from those 10 notches. So we've got one big front section of the armadillo armor. Again, this is a 9-banded armadillo, so it's a little different from some other armadillos. There's 20 different species of armadillos in the world, and this particular one, the 9-banded one, lives in the United States. And it's a very interesting little creature. We're going to talk about some of the details in a little bit. But this particular armadillo, you can find it as far north as southern Nebraska or Illinois or Indiana, the southern parts of those states. And then you can find it all the way down to Central and South America. So this little guy gets around, but there's 19 other species of armadillos that have different configurations. Some have 3 bands, and so there's other looks and sizes and shapes to them. This one is about 15 to 23 inches long, as you see it right here, so it's not including the tail. And we're going to draw the tail in right now. So let's draw a line. Again, that's the middle of the tail, kind of the guideline to give us the direction. And then we're going to add some thickness on the top. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Let's draw another line on the bottom for the thickness there. So we've got the shape for the armadillo tail. And then there's some armor plating, banding on the tail too. So we're going to draw some guidelines. Let's draw these guidelines here to help us kind of know where those armor lines will go when we ink it in just a little bit. And God has designed the armadillo full of armor. It's got this leather-like covering over the top of it that gives it protection from predators that might want to taste this guy as a yummy snack. So it's very, very interesting drawing these pieces and parts for the armor. Here's the guideline for one leg, the guideline for the other leg in the back, and then the guideline for the front leg, that's towards us, and then the other front leg that's in the back. And so those lines will help us know where to draw the lines later on for the inks. But let's draw some shape here for the feet to help us kind of get a head start on the shape for the feet. So like a little rectangle there, and then a rectangle here for that back foot. And then up in front, we're going to actually fill in the shape of this leg a little bit more. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other front leg. So we're going to give more of a complete shape, where we didn't do that in the back. And I'll show you why we didn't do that in the back in just a little bit when we do our inks. So we're going to lighten the sketch lines, and now let's get out our pens. Get out your marker or pen or whatever. We're going to do the inks for our armadillo. And I'm going to start out with the top of the nose and the head. And the armadillo actually has an excellent sense of smell, but it doesn't see so well, and it doesn't hear so well either. Now there's a line for the nose right there, and we're going to bring that down, kind of curve it around and in a little bit. Then we're going to draw the nostril right here, so draw a line there, and then curve that around, and so there's the opening for this side, the nostril on this side. Then the eye, we're going to draw a circle, and again I like to leave a little spot in there for the reflection. The eyes on the armadillo are kind of like these little beady eyes, and so we're just going to draw a dark circle for that, and then a couple lines for the shape of the face around the eye. And then there's like a patch of armor plating, scales, or I don't know what you call them, up on the top of the face of the armadillo. So it's got this kind of this shape of a covering. So that line will kind of be the separation between the top and bottom parts of the face. Now we ink the ear, kind of go around on top like that. Then we come around. So there's one ear. And then we're going to draw like a little shape on the inside of the ear. Okay, and then the other ear in the behind the armadillo, on the other side. All right, follow that line pretty much the way that we have it. And that's the other ear on the other side. So let's draw this front part, this front section of the armor plating, the armor that God has given the armadillo. So that's the front section, and then we need to draw these bands in. So just pretty much follow the lines along, although there's a little like an accordion type of shape or something, that so it's not just straight across. It fits inside the piece that's right next to it to the left, and so make that a little bit smaller. Go up a little bit, not just straight across. And then do that all the way across. And I'll tell you a little bit about the armor plating of the armadillo, the 9-banded one anyway. The armadillo is the only mammal with a hard shell that covers its body, and if you felt it, which you should not do, and you'll find out why in a little bit, it's kind of leathery. The 9-banded armadillo cannot roll up into a ball. There are 1 or 2 other species of armadillos that can roll up into a ball, but the 9-banded is not one of them. The under part of the armadillo and the ears are the only non-armored parts, and so those are the soft and vulnerable parts of the armadillo. If an enemy wanted to get a hold of it, that's where the enemy would attack, because the armadillo has armor everywhere else. Now, that's the back section of the armor. We're just going to curve that right around like we have it, all the way around. All right, and then the tail has these little bands too on it. And so we draw one section, and then the next section is just a little bit smaller, and that's how the tail continues all the way down. So the armadillo lives to be about 7 years old in captivity, a little less, about 4 to 5 years old in the wild. It does live in warmer areas, and so like I said, southern parts of the United States, even lives in Florida too, and then all the way down to South America. Now the armor is protection from enemies, but it does have other ways of escaping. It can dig to get away, and we're going to talk about those claws in a little bit. It can run. It's a very fast runner. In fact, it's kind of funny because it zigzags when it escapes. Okay, now the back end, the back leg, we're going to draw a section. See that guideline there? We're going to draw a section right there, so the guideline is sort of in the middle, kind of. And then we're going to draw another line down there and kind of imagine how those would connect. We're going to draw another line right here and draw one more line here, kind of imagining that connects, and then do the same as the tail, where you connect those sections up and make them just a little bit smaller as they go down. So that's kind of the upper thigh area, so to speak, of the armadillo. Then connect those two ends down to where that foot shape is. And then for the foot, we're going to draw a little claw here. So there's a little round part, and then the claw fits right inside there. And then you go down, and we're going to draw that again. Like those little round parts is where the claws will fit. All right, so claw number 1. And these claws are very, very sharp, very, very well designed for digging, and they can be used to try to get away and scratch if the armadillo is caught. And so they're useful for that too. Now for this leg, we're going to start out with a line there, and then just like that other back leg, we're going to kind of go up, 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 and make them bigger as we go, and then draw that. You should be kind of good at it by now, drawing the same sort of thing where each piece on the way down is a little bit smaller than the one on top of it. And then connect that down like you did before. All right. And then another little claw here. And then the claws right there. So round, 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 and then up. And then 1 claw, 2 claws, 3 claws, and the other claw you can't see behind it. So sometimes you can see all the claws and sometimes you can't. Now for the front legs, they're a little bit different. They don't have quite the same armor configuration. And so we just draw the lines for those up on the top and the bottom. And then we draw that smaller claw. And then go down and then around. And that's 1 claw, 2 claws, 3 claws. All right, and then draw where the claw connects. And then for the leg in the back, draw the front and the back of that leg. And then kind of similar to the other one, draw that little claw. And then go down, and then claw number 1, claw number 2, and then part of claw number 3, and I guess we don't see the other claw. This should have 5. Now we're going to draw some shadows underneath the armadillo. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to tell you some more details about the armadillo. I started talking about how it escapes. It digs, it runs, it can go in a zigzag pattern, and these little guys, like I said, are fast, fast, fast. And if it can't get away that way, it can jump. It'll jump up into the face of the predator and hopefully kind of scare it away or startle it or something. So these little guys not only can run fast, but they can jump really high too. And that's a good thing, but it's a bad thing too in this world with cars, because sadly the armadillo runs into lots of cars because it gets startled and it jumps. It goes into that jumping mode, and it hits the car that otherwise would drive right over the top of it. So Now I'm coloring in the armadillo, and it's gray. And so as I color, I'm going to give you some more details, some amazing details about the armadillo. Did you know that armadillos are good swimmers? Yes, they are good swimmers. In fact, they can hold their breath up to 6 minutes. And one funny thing that they do in regard to water is that if there's a stream and they want to go across the stream, they're heavier than water, and so they'll go down to they'll walk right across on the bottom of the stream underwater, and they can hold their breath for 6 minutes. So if it's not too far, they can do that. If it's really far across and they want to get across by swimming, they can swallow air, fill their intestines, kind of make themselves into little balloons, and then they float better. And so that helps them swim longer distances. So that's one unusual thing about the armadillos that I didn't know. They do use their claws for digging, and they dig up all kinds of worms and bugs and grubs. They even eat fire ants sometimes, and fruits and fungus, and even dead animals every once in a while. So now we're coloring in some of the armor plating, some of the scale texture on top of the armadillo. They're nocturnal, and so they sleep during the daytime and come out mostly when it's dark. They like to burrow, and then when it's hot outside especially, they stay in those cool burrows to stay out of the heat. When they have babies, this is very interesting. They have 4 babies at a time. And what happens is the egg inside the mom will divide into 4 different sections, and then each one of those 4 parts becomes an individual baby armadillo. And these babies are always identical. So they have 4 quadruplets. They have quadruplets. And all of them are either male or all of them are female. And that's how armadillos have babies. So quite fascinating. And so armadillos are very, very unique little animals. They're kind of like a armor-plated anteater, but they're very, very fast. They look like a tank, but they scoot along the ground very, very quickly. Now, I talked about something earlier, a question related to the Bible. And I said, what bad thing about armadillos can you read about in the Bible? The bad thing about armadillos is that they're known for being carriers of a very bad disease called leprosy. And leprosy isn't something that you hear about a lot these days, but it is something that still is around, and armadillos are known to carry this disease. So don't pick up armadillos. Don't touch them. You should be wary about this disease because it's very, very serious. And again, it's sad we live in a fallen world. And what else about the armadillo reminds us that we live in a fallen world? When I see an armadillo, I see an animal that is prepared for an attack. It's ready for the enemy to come and try to attack it, and it's got this armor on it that God has designed. It's ready for a fallen world and wants to survive. It doesn't want to die in a fallen world. That reminds me that in Genesis, when God made the world very good, everything was perfect. And so the armadillos back then wouldn't have needed any protection. So there must have been some change possibly that God did at the fall that enabled not only some animals to eat other animals, but also some animals to be protected and hide and be guarded and that sort of thing from other animals that might want to eat it too. So things have changed a little bit since God first created this world. And so as cool and neat and cute as armadillos are, they still are reminders that we live in a fallen world. So here's our armadillo drawing. I hope that you enjoyed drawing this with me, and I hope that you think about biblical things the next time you see an armadillo. But chief of all, that God is the creator of the armadillo. Well, thanks for joining me for this week's edition of Draw It and Know It. Join me next time. Thanks. Have